Welcome back to Dubai. I'm Landon Derentz. I'm Senior Director at the Atlantic Council Global Energy Center. I'm here in the Global Decarbonization Accelerator, a COP28 energy transition initiative to think through how we can do a systematic transformation of our energy system as we tackle the energy transition, thinking about energy security today and where we want to be in the future as well. To do that, we're bringing together thought leaders, executives, and policy makers to have a discussion and dialogue around just those issues. To achieve that, we're really excited to be here with Vijay Swarup. Welcome to Dubai. Vijay is the Senior Director for Climate Strategy and Technology at ExxonMobil. Welcome to the COP.
It's great to be here.
So, it's interesting. We have a very invigorated global community coming together for the discussion around the climate action in particular, but I mean, it's in Dubai, it's in the UAE, it's in the Middle East, very heavy emphasis on energy and energy transition. How is ExxonMobil approaching that?
I think I'm going to choose a couple of the words that you use as I weave that into my answer, and one of them is acceleration. You said we're in the Global Decarbonization Accelerator, and that's one of the things that's being talked about. How do you accelerate? So, but what are you trying to accelerate? Because we're trying to do two things simultaneously. We are trying to provide energy continuously at scales that, quite frankly, are hard to imagine. The scale of this system, not just the magnitude, but the geographic reach. And we have to provide that continuously because even as we speak, and we're in a country that has got tremendous access to energy, there's a lot of people that don't have access to energy.
Sure.
So we have to continue to provide energy, and we have to reduce emissions. And so one of the things you're seeing in the hubs and things like that is, what's the role of technology? What's the role of policy? How do we get collaboration towards common goals? And I think one of the keys is to understand what the goal is.
Right.
And it's a two-part goal, as you said. It's continuing to provide energy at the scale we need, and deploying the technologies to decarbonize.
Well, you mentioned we are in the energy transition hub. Yep. And there is a lot of industry showing up to COP at a scale that hasn't been seen before. What is industry taking away from being at the COP? And do you think that this is benefiting the overall narrative as they're working with policymakers on these issues?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think what's really important is we talk about this. And we talk about it inclusively because we're all after the same objective. I don't think there's any disagreement on what we have to do. And so the disagreement or the discussion is really on what's the best way to do it. Well, the best way to do it is to do it. Sure. And we have to make sure that we're deploying technologies that are ready today. Do we know that they're the perfect technology? We don't know, but I've been around for 35 plus years. And if somebody would have asked me, how are you going to do energy in 2023? I would not have said what we're doing today. So we have to just recognize that if we can unleash innovation, if we can unleash collaboration, we have proven that we can do the undoable, but we have to get on with doing it. And I think that's the theme that you're seeing at least for me over the last week or so is unprecedented collaboration, unprecedented alignment on the challenge, and unprecedented willingness to have these types of discussions around, okay, how do we actually start moving down the dual pathway that we have to do?
So we're in the 28th Conference of Parties on Climate Change. Obviously, industry hasn't been here for all of those. And I think the diplomatic process really culminated in Paris for the Paris Agreement, having nationally determined contributions to climate action, cutting emissions. Now that we have industry here, I have to imagine the work isn't done for policymakers. So they still need to be engaged and maybe providing an enabling environment for industry. What's that look like from ExxonMobil's
perspective? Well, first off, industry may not have been here, but we've always been here. Sure. We may not have been present, but we've always been here because we know the role we have to play. We have to provide the energy. Now, the collaboration with policymakers requires communication, and we're seeing movement. I mean, the IRA, the US IRA, is a tremendous first step. And it's got a lot of needed components. It focuses on carbon intensity of products. It's agnostic to technology in many ways. It's providing the incentives to get initial projects deployed, because one thing we've learned over 140 years in energy and just about any other industry discipline of industry is As scale goes up, cost goes down. And so if you can get the policy that incentivizes initial projects as the markets are formed, that's what is going to be needed. Now, I think I'll come back to one of the critical themes here is it has to be seamless. There can be no disruption in supply, because disruption in supply doesn't bode well for anybody. So we got to make sure that we have, we have to deliver today and plan for tomorrow. And then the last thing I'd say on that is you have to recognize that the two scales are not going to match for a little while. So we have a scale right now that's had 140 years to mature. And we have another set of technologies that are just beginning. Sure. They will cross at some point. We don't know when, but history has shown that they will. That's the essence of a transition. And these just types of discussions and what you're doing here that allows us to have a broad discussion focusing on the areas where we agree and really focusing on, well, let's get to action.
Sure.
Right? Which is what we're trying to do.
Okay, so we're talking about policy. We're talking about innovation and technology. Let's talk about one last facet, infrastructure.
Yeah.
If we don't build this out right, what's going to happen and why do we need to get it right for the first time?
Well, I think there's two pieces here. One is we got to do things in parallel. So policy, technology, infrastructure have to be thought of together, and they have to anticipate the scale. So as you're thinking about the infrastructure and whether you're talking about, developing nations who are building the infrastructure for the first time, so they have the opportunity to learn from the others. And this is the type of leapfrogging you'll see in energy, where they can start with the infrastructure of the future instead of having to modify the infrastructure of the past. Sure. So in certain regions, you're talking about repurposing pipelines. And in other regions, you're talking about pipelines. So infrastructure and anticipation of what's going to be needed so that you size things properly, so that you know how to do the connectivities, so you know what type of hubs are going to be built, those types of things, and then anticipating the technology changes, because the infrastructure has to anticipate the scale. And so the pipelines have to be sized right, the grid has to be sized right, the supply chains, the precious metals, the minerals, all those types of things for the energy systems for the future have to be thought through. And that's why you see what we're doing. If I can talk about what we're doing, that's why we're broad in thinking about things ranging from carbon capture, which is going to be a critical step. In fact, I would argue the needed step if we're going to abate emissions is going to be through some form of carbon capture, to hydrogen, which is a carbonless energy carrier, which is good, to lithium, okay, which is going to be needed. And now we're applying sort of combinations of upstream technology and downstream technology to do direct lithium extraction. So you're seeing a wide range of technologies that can build off of core capabilities. Because here's the thing, and you know this, physics isn't going to change. Right. Chemistry isn't going to change. The applications are going to change. And so our core capabilities, now just applying them in a different direction, is what we need to do.
So let's wrap up here just on the where we go. So we've been at COP28. We've had a lot of success. It's inclusive and I think really impactful. The conversations that you're articulating to us right now are really being drawn out in the global community. What is ExxonMobil looking to achieve as we look towards COP29? And frankly, not just COPs, but as we move this conversation globally onwards in the future?
Two things. One, we're part of the solution and we're committed to the solution. We are looking for opportunities. You've seen us with our capital commitments. You've seen us with the steps we've already taken. We know we have the capabilities to do this. We know we want to do this. And so this has allowed us to showcase that we are working on things that are going to matter. And come back to the key, though, we got to keep our eye on the ball today while we're developing the businesses for tomorrow. And that's really the key takeaway. Well, Vijay, it's good seeing you here in Dubai. I really appreciate the time. This was great. Look forward to our future conversations. All right. Thank you.